Yo, what is going on, guys? Godrekton here today, bring you a new video on the latest Renekton W change, which occurred on this patch 11.18. For those that are unaware of why Riot are nerfing Renekton, the main reason is due to his presence in pro play. In pro play, Renekton is able to do a lot of different things that you can't normally do in solo queue. For instance, Renekton is picked as more of a counter champ, but over the years he's been kind of picked just as the standard prio top lane pick. Prio in Season 11 is probably like one of the most important factors in the season. If you're not able to shove in waves, control minion waves, or like play self-sufficiently, you're not really going to be a good champion in the role. That's where Renekton comes in. Renekton has so many tools of being able to deal with game situations in the top side. While he isn't as effective as other champions, you could say, or like new to the level of a Set or a Irelia, things of that nature. Renekton, however, does have a lot of synergy with junglers, general team comps, and overall his role is very significant in pro play. Renekton is able to build as a bruiser, therefore being able to abuse Godrekton Hysterics. He's very hard to kill with his ultimate healing. His Q heal would, give him a sizable amount of health, combined with Godrekton and Hysterics. Like, overall, Renekton's just really hard of a champion to deal with. Now, with this being a problem in pro play, in solo queue, on the other hand, Renekton is a very weak champion. That is because a lot of players don't play with the motto of playing for top side a lot of the time. A lot of the time, players are playing for bot side because objectives like Dragon are available, mid lane matchups want to snowball, bot lane wants to snowball or be protected by the jungler. There's a lot more value in playing for bot side of the map over top side. Renekton can play self-sufficient. However, if you're comparing these to Renekton playing against a standard bruiser champion like a Darius, Set, Camille, Gangplank, you name it really, Renekton is often getting outscaled if he's not able to get that push early on. Renekton can solo kill his enemies. However, a lot of the time he still is getting outscaled by the direction Riot have took this season by implementing new items on champions. As soon as a champion gets a Riftmaker like Mordekaiser or Darius gets Stridebreaker, Triforce, whatever it might be, Renekton can't really compete in stats in 1v1s. His only focus at that point is going into a more bruiser route and playing frontline. While this still works, it is still very undervalued in solo queue because you can't really play as a team with there being no voice comms and everybody has their own different views on the game. Not everybody wants to, play Renekton as a frontline, or they don't want to play off having a bruiser like initiate a fight. Things are just not coordinated. Overall, it just becomes a very chaotic experience in solo queue trying to play Renekton. So now that we've compared solo queue to pro play, how does this change affect both pro play and solo queue? Well, in pro play, the nerf is designed to allow players to escape the CC potential Renekton can provide. If Renekton can W stun somebody and his jungler can come in, they're most often going to get a kill. However, in solo queue, as things aren't always coordinated or more champions are picked than others, being that it's solo queue, a lot of champs can sustain the damage and just simply walk out. Now, what this change is doing too is if you have tenacity in your kit from runes or items, Renekton can break out the stun. Champions can break out of Renekton's stun a lot easier. Therefore, Renekton will often be getting punished because his W will keep him in place. Therefore, because he's in place, people end up coming out the animation before him, and then they can turn on Renekton and simply trade back in damage, and Renekton is kind of backfired by using his W. Now, Riot in this patch mentioned to fix this problem, they'll be nerfing they'll be reducing his stun cast time animation, or as it says right here, his self-lockout duration. So what this means is Renekton has a little animation where he's kind of stuck in his ability. Now, they have mentioned to speed this up, but as we're going to cover through this video, that's not exactly the truth. And to me, it's kind of a slap in the face, as well as for many other Renekton mains. Being a Renekton main that's played for since Season 4 when I picked up the champ, this is not the first time Riot have done something like this either, which I will cover towards the end of the video. With all that being said, let's get into the change itself. So the change here says Renekton W Ruthless Predator has been reduced from 1.5 seconds to 1 second. As I was talking about, champions are now able to get out of his stun a lot easier. Because of this, tenacity also plays a bigger factor in breaking out the stun, because there's less time duration to be stunned, and tenacity will have a greater effect on being able to get out a lot earlier. When you consider a champ like Darius, for instance, the whole trading pattern in that matchup is to W him, then disengage. However, now if you try and W him, he can just break out of it with tenacity and pull you back. Most of the time, Renekton wants to WE away from the Darius, but now as you're in your starting animation of the E, Darius can instantly pull you back and punish you, which makes it a very dramatic change in the matchup, therefore weakening his overall presence in being able to abuse Darius. But to counteract this, Riot says here, empowered self-lockout duration from 0.75 seconds to 0.52 seconds, matching with the normal W. So this basically means that empowered W is now the same self-lockout duration as unempowered W. But is that really the case though? That's what we're about to find out by watching these clips side by side. So in the first one we have the new W change, which is set as the prehistoric skin. And on the second one, we have the old W change from last patch. And before I go any further, I do want to shout out Weosaurus for giving me this these clips, just so I don't have to go record it myself. So it was a lot of help, so shout out to him. But yeah, so on the new change as of 11.18 is with prehistoric skin. And on the right, we have Project Renekton skin, which is 11.17, so before the new change. So if we watch it, this is what will occur. Now, the clips are a little bit hard to track, but that's why I also slowed them down. So, if we look a bit closely, both go off at relatively the same time. Maybe there's a little bit of a millisecond difference, but overall you can kind of track the same time it's going off. Now, if we're looking at the same time they both exit, they both walk out at the same time. They both walk out at the same time. And Empowered W was supposed to have a lower duration in the self-lockout. But that's not what's happening here. They're both exiting the W at the same time. So, what about if we compare Empowered W lockout from this patch to the unempowered W lockout of this patch too? Because they both said that they both happen at the same time. So, let's watch. Let's watch the clip. Now in slow motion. They both relatively get out at the same time, so Riot isn't exactly wrong here. Although we can notice that if you're normally walking out the W, the enemy gets out the stun before you're able to cover any distance without E. So this aids into the fact that if you're against a champion with a pull like a Mordekaiser, Darius, anything of that nature, you can get abused for this if they have tenacity. Even without tenacity here on the dummies, they can still be in range to deal damage. And because most champs have 175 range now, or 200 range as top laners, Renekton is always likely to be taking hits, therefore making his overall combo synergies weaker. But anyways, I digress. So the whole change here was to make it so unempowered W and empowered W will have the same lockout time, and by this clip, it definitely looks like that. However, what if we compare the old empowered W lockout to the new unempowered W lockout, which the new one is basically the same as last patch. But on the new patch, unempowered is the same as empowered. So what if we compare both of them? Well, this is what happens, you see. Under slow motion, if we look at it, they're both Wing at the same time, right? But look how they both finish. They both move out at the same time. From last patch and the new patch. So what does that tell us? Riot haven't done anything. The only difference here is that unempowered W is lasting longer, therefore giving us more time to react and even walk back in this case. I mean, the clip here isn't the most ideal for showing how much distance you can cover, but still, it's showing us that the lockout time is exactly the same. Maybe not entirely frame perfect, maybe one or two couple milliseconds if we look back at it, but they both exit at the same time, therefore meaning, and they start at the same time virtually as well. So nothing was actually changed. So this again is one of Riot's white lies, and this happens a lot within the Renekton community. over the years, we've been told that things have been fixed or, things have been changed, but in retrospect, nothing gets changed at all, and most of the time, Renekton is being nerfed unintentionally because of it. And I would rather Riot is more transparent and more observative of this kind of things. And to prove my point as well, in Season 7, we had a Rioter. I'm not going to name his name for the purpose of, not being witch hunted or anything, But the point is that this guy, came into the Renekton men's Discord. He asked for feedback because Renekton was at quite the unsteady state as they changed him in 7.9 to have something called ability queuing, which essentially means that Renekton could cast multiple abilities in his E and do other crazy things like gain fury from towers. His E range was shorter, which was unintended, but he was also a lot faster, which would lead to people getting killed by like their own dash. They'll double dash into a turret and die, of that nature. There was a lot of weird bugs in that patch, and that's why he came in and then offered for us to give him all the bugs in that patch. One thing they also took out that patch was they removed his Q animation cancel for whatever reason, which is very skill expressive and isn't for the basic player by any means. It is quite a hidden, I'm not going to say hidden mechanic, but it's fairly known over the years now if you're in tune with the Renekton mains community and knowing all the intricacies. But anyways, so we gave him all these changes back, and in the end, he went on to the PBE within that day. He did a change. He said he bug fixed some things, or the major bugs like gain fury from towers or your E being shorter, animations being a little bit wonky. He fixed that. But what he didn't tell us, and from his hour of work, and maybe a bit incompetence of understanding what we was talking about, he removed every animation cancel from Renekton, and he also made it so the W lockout was a lot longer, or seemingly. So that's where we run into the same issue this patch, where champions can break out before Renekton's W and punish him, therefore making it quite a indicative ability, I could say, if that's the right word. I'm not sure, but there's more room to punish in Renekton then. And while Renekton might be a bit stronger with his design of this year based on items and stuff, I don't think this is the right way to nerf him whatsoever. And I hope this change is just for Worlds and it's not prolonged over to next season. But at this point, Riot does need to rework Renekton, and that's why I do want to make a video on the state of Renekton itself and provide my own and other Renekton One Tricks views on the game, and try and give a more objective and based view where it's not entirely shifting towards I want Renekton to be broken. Not at all. I just want Renekton to be playable in a skill expressive manner and in a way where he's not picked just to completely counter champs and do all these things in pro play while being very bad in solo queue. But yeah, that's kind of all I need to say. So I'm just wondering why Riot would always mention these things or do these shadow nerf patches and not list it either. I can talk about other occasions too. Riot on one patch decided to change the Q sound effect. But what did that do exactly? It broke Renekton's W and being able to do anything. I don't know how they do it, but they just do it somehow. I just think it's time for Renekton to get a rework in itself. Something that doesn't take away from the character or introduce some new, crazy mechanics like we've been seeing all season long. Just something that makes him relatively the same, but not too clunky and too punishing with these type of nerfs. So yeah, that's all I wanted to really say on the matter. As we can see from the video, nothing changed. The only nerfed is W. Therefore, he's still in range of being punished by everything. This is going to hurt Renekton a lot in solo queue, and it's probably going to nerf him a lot in pro play too. If it doesn't, and for whatever reason it gets Renekton nerfed again, I don't know. I don't decide about that if that is the case, but I highly doubt it. Anyways, I hope you guys liked the video, and you guys agree with me that maybe Renekton needs a rework, and maybe you guys are tired of Riot's incompetence towards the Renekton mains community. I feel like some communities are more biased between the interactions they have with Riot. I know in the Rengar mains community, for example, there was a lot of Rioters that would often talk to Rengar players and ask for feedback on things and let them more in on the changes. But with most communities, and especially Renekton mains, They don't do that. Instead, they just keep us in the dark, and there's not really a voice, and I really want to try and be that voice for Renekton men's community. Like, I'm a Masters player, I have tons and tons of experience from Renekton, and just the game itself to give the knowledge, and I feel like a person like that is needed, so I'm going to try everything in my power to get us heard, and I hope you guys can support this video and just show that Riot is not treating Renekton the best way, and also are presenting these white lies of changing things when they haven't done anything at all, or they change things for the worse, while thinking it's like good for the Renekton players too, like a compensation animation time nerf where nothing happened. So yeah, that's all I really have to say on the matter. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to check out my upcoming videos on this whole topic. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.